Other from owning a house, car purchase, and the cost associated with owning a vehicle is the second highest expense for the average American household. Approximately 92% of Americans own one or more vehicle, with the price of owning a vehicle skyrocketing since the supply and demand shortage due to the pandemic. People are spending more and more money on their vehicles and taking on more and more debt, with the average price to own a vehicle being $50,000, while the average earning for a person in America is around $60,000. So think about it. The average price of a vehicle nowadays almost matches a person's annual salary. So imagine spending a year working just to pay for your car in a job that you may not love. So the decision that you make and the type of vehicle that you purchase could literally mean a situation where you're living paycheck to paycheck, or taking control of your money and investing it in things that actually bring back value, buying back your time and sanity. In this video, I will guide you through the costs and the factors to consider when you're thinking of either leasing, financing, or buying a vehicle. I'll go through the pros and the cons so that you can see which option fits your lifestyle. And since I make videos on strategies to build wealth, of course, I'll give you my hot take at the end on my opinion of what I think would be the best strategy for the average person on their journey to building wealth. So stick around. Did you know the moment that you drive off the parking lot after purchasing your vehicle, you immediately lose 9 to 11% of the vehicle's value? So yes, driving away into the sunset in your $50,000 brand new vehicle will cost you $5,500 just leaving the dealership. Let that sink in. And within the first year, your vehicle could lose 20% of its value and up to 60% after 5 years. No judgment here, but if you lease, it provides you the opportunity to drive a brand new vehicle and enjoy the fresh car smell, the new technology, without having to pay for the full price of the vehicle. Essentially, it's like renting the vehicle for a set period of time, and you pay a reduced monthly payment where you only pay for the depreciation over the term that you lease the vehicle versus, as I mentioned, the full price of the vehicle. So the monthly payment will be less. For example, if you purchase a $30,000 vehicle and leased it for 3 years, and at the end of the 3 years, the vehicle is worth $10,000, the cost of the depreciation or the decrease in value of the vehicle over 3 years is what you would pay. So in this instance, you would pay $20,000 if the car is valued $10,000 after the 3 years. And that $10,000 is what's known as the residual value, which is the amount the car is worth after the 3 years and the amount that you could consider selling that vehicle for. So with leasing, there's the price of the vehicle, the term that you'll be leasing the vehicle for. You'll need to know the residual value, which can be provided to you by the leasing company or the financing department where you're purchasing your vehicle from, or this can also be found online. There are fees that you may need to pay, such as down payment, finance and interest charges, and this can be dependent on your credit score and also market rates at the time that you're leasing. There's also sales tax and other fees related to leasing to be considered. And with leasing, unlike financing, there is a set amount of mileage that you're allowed to drive per year. So let's dive into an actual example to really show you the price breakdown of what it would cost to lease a vehicle. We'll be using a Subaru Outback. So the price of this vehicle is $31,415. We'll be leasing it over 3 years and putting down a down payment of $3,000. The residual value of this vehicle, based on information that I have found online and also at car dealership websites, is $21,362. The interest or the money factor that we'll be using in this video is 6% APR. With a down payment of $3,000, the new total amount is $28,415. This vehicle has a residual value, so the cost that you can sell this vehicle for after 3 years is $21,362. So with that being known, you'll be paying a monthly depreciation fee or a monthly fee without the interest and taxes is of $195.91. Now, the interest amount is $124.44. So, combined with the monthly fee and the interest amount, you'll be paying a total amount of $320.35. So, over 3 years, the total that you'd be paying out of pocket to lease this vehicle, not including taxes and other fees, but with the monthly depreciation fee and the interest, you will be paying a total of $4,532.60 for the 3-year term that you lease this vehicle. So after the 3 years, say you wanted to purchase this vehicle outright. If you took the amount of money that you paid over 3 years plus the residual value to own this vehicle after the lease term has ended, it will cost you $35,894.60. To purchase this vehicle after you have returned it from your lease, that is how much it will cost you. So keep in mind that this price does not include gas, insurance, routine maintenance, taxes, or registration fees. So let's move on to financing. So with financing, the goal is to eventually own that vehicle by making payments over a longer period of time. So usually the financing term is 3 to 6 years, where at the end of the term, you will own that vehicle. So using the example of the Subaru Outback, you have the purchasing price of $31,415. We're going to use the same term for 3 years of financing with a down payment of $3,000 and the same interest rate of 6% per year. In this example, you'll see that when you're financing a vehicle, the price is much more per month. And that's because you're paying for the overall cost of the car in a set period of time. And we're using a fairly shorter time than the average term of 3 years. And so the cost is going to be much more. And in this case, it's $863.48. The total that you'll pay for financing this vehicle over 3 years is $31,085.28, with a total out-of-pocket cost of financing this vehicle over 3 years with interest being $34,085.29. If you compare leasing versus financing in terms of leasing the vehicle for 3 years and then selling it at the residual value that's listed in this example versus financing the vehicle for 3 years, you can see that leasing is more expensive than financing, with a difference of around $1,809. So this example shows that leasing is the most expensive option when you compare leasing versus financing of this vehicle. And if you were to continue to lease versus buying this car outright, so if you brought back the car and you decided to lease another vehicle, it would be the most expensive option. So at the end of the day, you do not have a vehicle that you own and can sell at a later date. Financing, on the other hand, has a much higher down payment that some people may not be comfortable with paying, and it may be easier to pay for the lower monthly payment that leasing offers. So this is my hot take. My channel is about building wealth and teaching you strategies on how to live below your means and avoid costly expenses. If you were to buy a vehicle, it would be best to buy a used vehicle that is 2 to 3 years old. Why 2 to 3 years? So we discussed this earlier in the video. Vehicles depreciate rapidly in the first few years of ownership and up to 60% after 5 years. So why not take advantage of this by buying a used vehicle that is about 2 to 3 years old to avoid paying for that depreciation? If you buy a used vehicle and put 20% or even more down, then you would avoid that depreciation, reduce the amount of interest that you have to pay because you're putting down a larger down payment than say $3,000 like this example that I provided. Your monthly fee would be more manageable and easy to pay off. Reduce the financing term to about 2 years to quickly pay off that vehicle and avoid unnecessary interest charges. If you have the money, you can buy a used vehicle that's 2 to 3 years old and purchase it with cash outright. I know a lot of people may not have that $20,000 to purchase a vehicle, and that's a large amount of sum just to throw into a vehicle when you could put that money into other forms of asset that appreciates versus a depreciation asset such as a car to have that money work for you. To avoid putting such a large sum of money into a depreciating asset such as a vehicle, I would suggest you reduce the term of financing and put a larger down payment. To lease, finance, or buy a car outright is a personal decision, and it's based on your personal needs. So these are the pros to leasing a vehicle. The first thing is that the monthly payment is much less than the cost to finance or to pay a big chunk of money to purchase the vehicle. You get to drive a brand new car every few years and have that experience of new safety features, new technology, and just the luxury of driving a brand new vehicle. The other factor to consider is that any issues that occur would likely be covered under the manufacturer's warranty. And if you have a business, you can write off the cost associated to leasing as a business expense when it comes to your tax. As we spoke about, there are some cons to leasing. First of all, you're renting the vehicle versus owning the vehicle over time. So at the end of the lease term, you give back that vehicle versus financing or buying, you have an asset and you have equity in that vehicle. The second thing is that you're limited by the amount of mileage that you agreed upon. So say you enjoy going for long trips with your family very often, leasing might not be the choice for you. And with leasing, you are committed to that lease agreement for that set period of time, so for 3 years. And if you break that penalty, there are hefty charges that you may need to pay to return that vehicle before the 3-year period. Leasing is also the most expensive option over time, especially if you continue to repeat leasing a vehicle. With financing, there's the pride of ownership. At the end of that period, you get to own the vehicle. It's yours. You can either decide to resell the vehicle or keep it for as many years as possible. The other thing is that you're not restricted by a certain amount of mileage per year. The longer you keep the vehicle, especially if it's paid off and it's working well without major cost needing to repair it, is the cheaper it is over time. The cons are the higher monthly payment. Some people may not be comfortable or cannot afford to pay that. And you're putting money into a depreciating asset. And if something goes wrong with the vehicle, you have to pay for that charge, especially if it's out of warranty. So with buying, the price that you see is the price that you pay. You don't have to pay for interest costs, but the caveat to that is that you need to put down a large payment, which then costs you for the opportunity cost. So the money that you could put in other assets that actually appreciate in value over time, such as investment or in a down payment to purchase a home, if that's something that you can afford. So buying outright, especially a brand new car at the average price of $50,000, may not be something that is a smart decision for the average person. But if you purchased a used car that is, again, 2 to 3 or maybe 5 years old, that might be something that is beneficial and maybe the cheapest option long term. So in summary, leasing is the most expensive option when it comes to owning a vehicle. Financing comes right behind it. It's more cheaper, but again, you have to pay for the interest and other costs that's associated. The best option, in my opinion, and what I've done and what I will continue to do, is buy a used car, at least 2 to 3 years old, up to 5 years old, and put a larger down payment and have a shorter term financing period so that I can quickly pay off this vehicle and put my money into other places that will have my money working for me. Go through the pros and the cons to see what is the best option for you. When it comes to the decision of buying a vehicle, as I had mentioned in the beginning of the video, it can literally set you back by thousands of dollars in your financial journey and in your journey to becoming financially free and not living paycheck to paycheck. So really consider the overall cost when it comes to vehicle ownership. Thank you so much for watching my video, and if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Also, please leave a comment below whether or not you lease or you finance or purchase a vehicle, and what have you done throughout your life in terms of your vehicle ownership. Do you prefer to buy used vehicles and then just like have it for many years, or do you prefer to lease or finance a brand new vehicle? Please share your comments below. And if you like this video, check out my video on buying versus renting a house to help you make a smart financial decision when it comes to home ownership.